I have sung to the deep gods since before my second molt, and I can tell you now, with the calm of an old woman who has nothing left to lose by saying it, the deep gods never answer. Not in words, not in light, not in anything you could carry home and show your hatchlings as proof. We did not always know that. When the hollow-tide convoy first found the beacon shrine, drifting derelict and half-dead in the long dark between the drowned systems, we thought we had found a miracle. It was an old thing, older than any of our 9 families, a great curved hull grown. Not built grown, the way our ancestors grew their first rafts from coral bone, by some species that had vanished so long ago, even their ghost had stopped haunting the dark. Its core still pulsed, faint and slow, like a heart remembering how to beat. We tethered our drift rafts to its flank and made it our shrine, our shelter, our last warm room in a cold that went on forever. For 3 generations, we sang to it. We believed, the way the desperate believe, anything that keeps the freeze out one more night, that the shrine's pulse was a god listening. We sang our hunger to it. We sang our dead to it. When the raiders came through the drowned systems and took the Ashkin, our cousin's 3 convoys over, we sang our fear to it, begging whatever still listened inside that ancient hull to send us soldiers. Anything with teeth, anything that could stand between us and the dark. The shrine's pulse only slowed. It was dying, we understood far too late. It was not a god. It was a derelict reactor core a few centuries from total failure, and we had been living inside its last warmth like moths inside a closing hand. I was the one who sang the final plea. On the night the core's light dropped to a color none of us had a word for, a red so deep it was almost nothing at all. I am the convoy's elder singer. It falls to me to ask, so I asked. I sang into the dark the way my mother sang before me. Not words exactly, but a shape of need, sent out past the shrine's broken antenna into whatever still listened in that empty stretch of stars. I did not expect an answer. None of us did. We had stopped expecting answers around the time the Ashkins stopped answering our hails. 40 hours later, something answered. It did not come the way I had imagined, in all my hatchling nightmares of raiders. No roaring engines, no weapons blooming light across the dark. It came quietly, a single vessel sliding out of the black with its running lights dimmed low and steady, the kind of quiet that belongs to something that has done this before and isn't interested in announcing itself. Boxy, scar along one flank, more tool than weapon. My first thought, looking at it through the shrine's failing viewport, was that the gods had sent us a beggar instead of soldier. My second thought, when the hail came through in halting but careful trade cant, was that I had never heard anyone speak to the dying so gently. This is the independent cutter latchkey, out of the sails rest relay. No relation. Before you ask, we get that a lot. The voice said, and there was something almost embarrassed in it, like the speaker knew this was an odd thing to lead with. We picked up a structural distress ping off your shrine's old emergency channel. Didn't figure anyone still lived in something this far gone. We're inbound to assist. How many of you are aboard? I did not answer for a long moment because I did not understand the question. We had sung for soldiers. We had sung for teeth in the dark. What I was hearing instead was a voice asking how many of us there were, the way you asked before you set the table. 412, I said at last, because the truth seemed safer than my confusion. We are the last of the hollow tide. The shrine is dying. We see that, the voice said, and it did not sound surprised or afraid or disappointed that we weren't the soldiers worth sending soldiers for. We're going to need a few hours. We're not built to carry 400, but we've got room enough to start, and we'll call for more hulls behind us. Nobody's getting left on a dying reactor today. That's not how this works. I did not know then what this was. I know now. It was simply the answer Earth gives when something old and forgotten sends out one last cry into the dark. They come, and they do not leave until the cry stops needing to be sent again. They were 3. 3 against 412 of us, and a hull groaning toward its last breath. A pilot who never left his seat and spoke to the shrine's failing systems like he was coaxing a frightened animal rather than wrestling a machine. A second who moved through our drift rafts cutting tether lines and carrying our smallest hatchlings 2 and 3 at a time, careful of every fin and frill, asking names she could not pronounce and trying anyway. And a third, broad-shouldered, quiet, with hands scarred from a kind of work I did not have a word for, who simply went where the shrine's hull groaned loudest and held it together with foam and patches and his own stubborn presence, as if the ship's failing would be a personal failure of his. I watched that one for a long while. I expected, somewhere in me, that he would tire of us, that the rule of 3 soldiers I had prayed for would eventually show their teeth, would demand tribute, would look at our slowing pulses and our too many mouths and decide we were not worth the hull space. He never did. When the core finally guttered and the shrine's last light went the deep red-nothing color, he was still bracing a failing strut with his own back, shouting numbers to his pilot in a voice that did not once break. We lost no one. I want that said plainly, because in all my years of singing to gods who never answered, I had stopped believing that a true rescue, every voice, every fin, every hatchling, was a thing that still happened in this dark, drowned part of the galaxy. The last of us came off the shrine 40 minutes before its core collapsed entirely, folding inward into a silence, so complete it made the years of red dim light before it feel almost loud by comparison. I stood in the cutter's hold afterward, for 112 of us packed into a space built for a fraction of that, and I watched the broad-shouldered one finally sit, just for a moment, blood on his knuckles and foam dust in his hair, and laugh, quiet, exhausted at nothing in particular. Not triumphant, not heroic, just a man who had finished a hard thing and was glad it was finished. I understood, watching him, what we had actually prayed for and what we had actually been sent. We had asked the old gods for soldiers, for teeth, for something with the strength to stand between us and the dark. What came instead did not arrive with weapons drawn or banners flying. It arrived with cutting tools and careful hands and an unwillingness, bone deep, almost stubborn, to leave anyone behind on a dying thing, however small, however strange, however far past the edge of anyone's concern we had drifted. That is the part of this I have never been able to make my own kind understand when I sing this story now to hatchlings who are not yet born on the shrine. We did not pray to something terrible and get something terrible in answer. We prayed for an army, and the universe sent us 3 tired people who simply refused to let 412 of us die quietly in the dark. And somehow, that refusal did more than any army I could have imagined. Before the latchkey docked us at the relay station that would become our new home, I went to the pilot's narrow cabin and sang him the oldest blessing my mother ever taught me. Not trade cant, not a translation, just the old shape of gratitude in the old tongue, the one we say for things too large to fit inside ordinary words. He did not understand it. I did not expect him to. He only nodded once, the way you nod at something you can tell matters even if you cannot read it, and went back to his charts. I have never translated that song for any human since. Some thanks, I have come to believe, are meant to stay exactly the shape they were given in, untranslated, unclaimed, sung once into a quiet room, and left there the way you'd leave a single warm light burning in a window for something that already came home.